Welcome to Homeschool Nolan, here to help you navigate learning in the digital age. A new year is upon us. If you're a homeschooler, the learning never ends. If you're in public or private school, a new semester awaits you. When the global pandemic hit nearly 3 years ago, a lot of families, including mine, were forced to become homeschoolers overnight. And even though most families returned their kids to school after they reopened, the pandemic made homeschooling much more widely accepted and gave parents a taste of what it's like to have more ownership and control over their child's education. Now, after over a year of being back in school, a few families we know said that they are now thinking about going back to homeschooling. And in this video, I'd like to talk about the reasons why some families are thinking about going back to homeschooling. Now, I obviously believe in homeschooling, but I also know it's not for everyone. So I will also talk about some of the challenges you should consider if you're thinking about taking your child out of school and doing homeschooling. But first, let's go over the top 2 reasons I've heard from parents who are thinking about going back to homeschooling. The first reason I hear is that children who need to get up early every morning and go to school simply aren't getting enough sleep. In a previous video, I talked about the importance of getting enough sleep for everyone, but especially for kids. Not only is sleep important for good health, but it also helps you to learn and retain what you learn much better. Getting a good night's sleep is a lot like hitting the save button on the stuff you learned the day before. When kids have to get up early to go to school every morning, it obviously makes it harder for them to get enough sleep. Now, one might think that the simple solution to this problem would be to simply go to bed earlier the night before. But that's not as easy as it sounds. A lot of kids these days, especially the ones with more ambitious parents, are loaded with lots of homework and extracurricular activities, which makes it very hard for them to go to bed early. Plus, we all have something known as a circadian rhythm, which is a lot like a natural body clock that regulates our sleep-wake cycle. Studies have shown that for teenagers and younger, their circadian is shifted a couple hours ahead. That means trying to make them go to sleep at 9 p.m. would be like an older adult trying to go to sleep at 7 p.m. And a teenager trying to wake up at 6 a.m. would be a lot like an adult trying to wake up at 4 a.m. And I think every parent knows instinctively that it's much easier for kids to stay up late at night than to wake up early in the morning. Now, getting enough sleep probably wouldn't be as big a deal if kids weren't so busy with so much schoolwork and other activities. And this leads me to the second complaint I hear from parents about school, and that is some parents feel that their child's time is often wasted on school activities and assignments which they feel don't provide any educational value. For example, one mom we know said that her 9-year-old son, who was pretty good at math, was given an assignment to do a coloring activity that was based on getting correct answers to math problems. Now, I know a lot of kids like to color, but I wonder just how much educational value a bright 9-year-old still gets out of coloring. Another school activity which I've heard a parent complain about is spelling or doing spelling contests. Now, don't get me wrong, spelling is very important, and misspelling a word in an important document looks really bad. But for those of you who have ever participated in a spelling bee, you probably remember that they usually require you to spell archaic and super long words that are rarely used. Now, some parents and teachers may disagree and argue that both coloring and spelling are indeed useful for learning. But that only highlights the homeschooling versus public school debate. What one parent thinks is useful and important for their child may not be so for another parent. Homeschooling gives parents ownership over their child's curriculum and learning activities. Schools, on the other hand, have to come up with a one-size-fits-all curriculum that applies to all the students in a classroom regardless of each individual's unique strengths and learning styles. Plus, with homeschooling, your child can now learn at their own pace rather than be required to learn at the same pace as everyone else in their class. So, if you feel that your child can benefit more from a more individualized program for learning, cater to their own unique strengths and abilities, then homeschooling is probably the right choice for you. That said, if you're a parent who homeschooled your child during the pandemic back in 2020 and then went back to school, you should consider that as your child gets older, it becomes harder and harder for you, the parent, to teach every subject. Every parent can probably master the subjects taught to younger kids, like in kindergarten and first grade. But as your child gets older and starts studying more advanced subjects like calculus, chemistry, or Shakespeare, not every parent can keep up. At the very least, it will take you more time to study and refresh your knowledge for yourself before you can try to teach your kids these more advanced subjects. That's why, if you do decide to jump back into homeschooling, remember that your child is now 2 years older, and you will probably have to spend more time looking for the best resources out there to teach your kids different subjects better than you can, whether they be books, videos, personal tutors, or learning centers. By the way, if you're looking for an online platform to support your homeschooling, check out Study.com. Study.com has over 8,300 engaging videos in English, math, science, history, and many other subjects. I use it with my son, and we find it a great way to support not only his homeschooling, but my own supplemental learning as well. Use the coupon code HomeschoolNolan and get 30% off the first 3 months. Check out Study.com today. Now, one more thing to consider before you dive back into homeschooling is the challenge of self-motivation, both for you and your child. When you homeschool, you no longer have a teacher telling you what to read and study, giving you homework assignments, and giving you due dates. It's entirely up to you now to decide which assignments to give out and whether to enforce your due dates. And if you're a working parent like I am, it can be hard sometimes to stay motivated when you have other important responsibilities. Now, if your child happens to love learning and is self-motivated, then homeschooling can be a lot easier and more fun. But every homeschooling family situation is, of course, unique. So keep in mind that your ability to stay motivated without an external authority like a teacher pushing you and telling you what to do is an important challenge to consider before you dive back into homeschooling. The pandemic, along with the digital age, has made homeschooling much more widely accepted and easier to do than before. But it still takes hard work and self-motivation for both the parent and child alike. And I hope this video has been helpful if you're a parent who is considering jumping back to homeschooling. And no matter what you decide, I wish you the best of luck in your lifelong journey of learning. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.